Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. It is time. I keep saying I'm going to do this and I haven't gotten around to it, but I finally have time today to do my surgery update. For those of you that have been around a while, you know I had surgery back in like October, November, somewhere around there, which I'll get a little bit more into in the beginning, but I'll link up in the cards up here the original video that I did on that and kind of what that entailed. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I wanted to give you an update on how I'm doing. I've got a whole list of things here we're going to talk about, so let's get into it. But for those of you who are new, welcome. I'm Jennifer. I am a 29-year-old living in Los Angeles with my husband of almost 10 years now and our two cats, Kylo and Loki. I work in marketing. I've worked in marketing for the last 10 years, but it's a crazy time right now. The beginning of the year is always, we've got new product launches, we've got all kinds of things we're doing. So most of my content revolves around working from home. I work from home full time in a corporate marketing job. So that's what most of my content's about, but we're also doing a big weight loss challenge this year. Not a challenge, we're just trying to get healthy. I've got about 60-70 pounds that I want to lose. I'll be happy as long as I get down to there's a certain number I'm gonna be like totally fine with, but realistically I'd like to lose 60 or 70 pounds. So a lot of content around that. We just do all kinds of things about being a millennial wife with no kids. So that's what we do here. Thanks for joining. Let's get into today's video. So minor recap for anyone that's new. Back in October, November-ish, like end of October, early November, I had a surgery to become sterilized, basically. It's basically like getting your tubes tied, but it's like the new way they're doing it. So the surgery was called a bilateral saphenectomy. Don't know if I'm saying that right. Don't quote me on that. But that's how we're saying it. I'm gonna call it Bi-Salp from now on because that's what most people call it. So I had a Bi-Salp in October. And the reason I did that is I have been on hormonal birth control for my entire adult life, basically ever since Randy and I moved in together when I was 19. I was not someone that was on birth control in high school. I grew up in a religious family, so that just was not a thing for us. My parents thought that it would encourage me to go out and sleep around at 15. So, which looking back now, I can see why they would think that, because that's what a lot of my other friends were doing, but I was not that kind of person, so I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. That being said, I have been on it since I was about 18, 19 years old. I've done the pill, I've done multiple different versions of the pill, and they all just did not work for me. In 2021, I decided to go and try Nexplanon, because I needed something that I could just set it and forget it. I didn't want to remember to take a pill. The pills weren't really affecting my mental health, but I had a feeling they were kind of affecting my skin and my weight. I have struggled with my weight ever since I got married, really. You know, in high school, I was always 6 foot tall, 150 pounds, like tiny. I was tiny. I was also very active in high school. So, you know, now I understand why I was that skinny. And obviously things change as you get older. But I just noticed some things changing that I wasn't able to correct normally. And I just assumed it was the birth control. I'm also notorious for forgetting to take birth control. So I needed something that was just gonna be permanent. I got on Nexplanon, and I did a lot of research before I got on Nexplanon. And I was kind of like, okay, not the risks, but like people's bad experiences, there's a ton of them. If you look up Nexplanon, all you will see is the negativity around it. And I was like, I'm willing to try it. Maybe I'll be lucky and it will just solve all my problems. So we tried it, and it got it put in November 2021, I believe. And at first, I didn't really notice anything. Actually, for the first probably 6 months, I didn't really notice anything. Everything was fine. Mental health was fine. I wasn't gaining any weight. And then about 6 months in, I started rapidly gaining weight. I started noticing I was hungry all the time. And I started noticing like just different little things. But I didn't really put two and two together because I was like, yeah, I'm eating like really shitty food. I'm not being healthy. I'm not taking care of my body. So like, yeah, these things make sense, which is kind of a theme for me. Like if you know me in my personal life, I do this a lot, which I'm trying to be better about, is like actually paying attention to my body and what's going on instead of just like coming up with excuses for why things are happening. So yeah, about 6 months in, I started like rapidly gaining weight. And at first it wasn't too bad, but last summer I was like looking back at pictures from like 4th of July and I was like, oh my God, I have put on a ton of weight. And I tried dieting all summer, and like diets have never really been easy for me to do. I'm not someone that can really handle that. I can't handle the strictness of a lot of diets. It has to be kind of a lifestyle thing for me for it to be sustainable. So, and then I've also got a husband that's 6'3" and skinny, and he can eat whatever he wants and not gain a pound. So I have to like kind of counteract those two things to make things work for me and him, which I'm getting a lot better about. So got all of that together. And then I started noticing just like how much it was really affecting me mentally. I did not feel like myself at all, which I didn't realize until towards the end of the time that I had the Nexplanon in. And that's kind of what started this whole process of going in and getting the surgery, which I've talked about in my other video, so I'm not going to get into that. But there was a lot of last year where, you know, I had issues in my marriage. I had issues just really everywhere in my life, and it was being caused by my mental health from this birth control. So I made the decision in August, like, I can't do this anymore. I'm fed up. I need to get this taken out. I know this is the cause of it because this is not like me. Got back into therapy and was just like, we can't. So I made the appointment. Again, in my other video, I talk about making the appointment and how that all worked. And I've got some resources linked below for anyone that is thinking about doing this. And I'll link them down below again. But I really did some research. I did a lot of research on Reddit. There's not a lot out there for people that want this surgery. And most people are like, you know, you're just gonna go get your tubes tied. Well, there's some complications that can come from that. Not complications, but some other issues that can be caused by that. So a lot of the doctors, at least in my area, they won't do that procedure anymore, and they're moving towards this Bi-Salp procedure. With getting your tubes tied, you have the chance or the risk of there being an ectopic pregnancy, because they're just tying them off. So they're not like actually removing that part of what's going on down there. And then there's also the risk of cancer. So now they're pushing for this Bi-Salp procedure as a way to prevent ectopic pregnancies, which are in themselves very dangerous. And then you also remove the risk of cancer for the most part. I mean, there's other cancers you can get, but it gets rid of most of that risk. So went to the doctor and got that all figured out, agreed on this procedure, and I went in prepared to ask for this specific procedure, and she was like, oh no, this is the only one I do. Like, we're not even going to consider the other procedure. Like, this is what you need. So that process was very easy. So fast forward to October, surgery went well, and I don't think I did an update after surgery, or I did like a really quick one. So day of surgery, I went in, everything was really easy. I did my surgery at Cedars-Sinai in Brentwood. They're fantastic. It is, number one, the most beautiful hospital I've ever seen. But the doctors there were fantastic. All of the residents that were helping were fantastic. Nurses were so sweet. It just, I remember going in early in the morning. I remember being put under, and then all of a sudden I was up. I actually remember being wheeled into the operating room and seeing everything around me. And that was the last thing I remember until I woke up. And then I woke up and started crying because I was just like, number one, I was on a bunch of drugs, a bunch of like medication, and they were kind of laughing. They were like, oh, everyone ends up crying after the surgery, it's fine. You're not the only one. I was like, I don't know why I'm crying, but okay. But realistically, like, looking back on it, I just was so relieved when I woke up, because I was like coherent enough to know what I was doing and why I was there. And it was just like such a relief. And I remember coming home from my appointment where I got the approval to have the surgery, and I cried the entire way home, because it literally was like a weight lifted off of me, that I wasn't gonna have to deal with this anymore. Now we are, let's see, 4 months post-op. So I'm feeling great now. I noticed right away several changes. My mental health got immediately better. It took about a week for me to like notice, and a lot of people were like, oh, Jen, it's just because you think you're doing better. It's not really changed. I 100% believe that right away my mental health was better. I didn't have anxiety anymore. I wasn't sitting there, I wasn't emotional anymore. I was so emotional. Like, I mean, I can cry at the drop of a hat already, but it was bad when I was on the birth control. But the anxiety and my panic attacks just kind of went away. Like getting off of that. And I didn't really start having those things until like 2017. I'd never really experienced it before until then. 2017, 2018. And then it got progressively worse when I switched birth control. And I don't have that anymore. I used to get so anxious at work, and I would break down pretty much daily over work. And part of that was the company I was working for and the job that I was doing. And so switching jobs last year definitely helped that. But even now, like even at my new job where I'm in a better environment and I'm working from home, I had moments of anxiety for no reason. And now these things happen that used to trigger my anxiety before, and I'm totally fine. And it's like, I was on medications to try and like manage that for a while, and it didn't do anywhere near how I'm feeling now. So I am 100% confident that it was caused by that birth control. As far as like eating habits and things like that, when I was on the Nexplanon, I joke that I would eat like I was pregnant, which that's kind of what that is supposed to do. The hormones are kind of making your body, like tricking your body into thinking you're pregnant, is how someone explained it to me. And so I was constantly hungry and ate like I was a pregnant person. Like I craved certain things, and it was very weird. Really, the first week I didn't really eat much. I wasn't hungrier than normal. Like I feel like that was solved right away. And that may have been because I was like laying low on the couch just in recovery. It may have been the medication I was on for recovery. I'm not really sure, but I noticed a big change in my hunger right away. The first couple of weeks I lost about 7 pounds. The scale said I lost 7 pounds. I think that was because I wasn't eating very much, because I was just kind of laying low, and I had told Randy, not to worry about staying home. I was able to like move around and do things, but I was limiting my movement because it was difficult for me to move around. Not difficult, it just was uncomfortable. And I stopped taking the pain medication like 3 days after surgery because I just didn't feel like I needed it. I work from home. I just brought my laptop out on the couch and sat on the couch. So I told him to go back into work. He worked from home a couple days that week and was able to help me, but I didn't want to bother him. So I like tried to get up as much as I could to get what I needed. But yeah, I wasn't eating a lot. So it was really easy for me to lose that 7 pounds. Now I've gained that 7 pounds back because I'm eating normally again. And I haven't lost as much as I would have liked to. I think I lost total now about 4 pounds. It keeps fluctuating. But I also keep like going back and forth with my diet, where I'm eating really healthy some weeks and really crappy some weeks. So right now I'm focusing on drinking more water and eating healthy, because I do want to see if the weight was part of that problem, or that was part of my weight problem, and kind of see where to go from here. I think I had in my head that after the surgery I was gonna just immediately lose like 60 pounds, and that's not been the case. But I did read before the surgery that there was a lot of people that had gone from Nexplanon to the surgery, and it took their bodies a long time to get kind of regulated again after all the hormones. And they did really have to work at losing weight like everybody else. So I'm not totally surprised, slightly disappointed, because I was kind of excited and I'd kind of put in my head that that was going to be the case. But it is what it is. And I would rather figure out how to do it a healthy way than just like have it all be gone and then still eat like crap and have the risk of gaining it all back. Skincare wise, I know I've talked about this in some of my other videos in like my day in the life and stuff, but the Nexplanon really like aggravated my acne. I've always struggled with skin issues since I was a teenager, but I feel like the Nexplanon really like elevated it. And even going to dermatologists and things like that, they'd be like, oh, you just need to go on Accutane. Well, I'm not going on Accutane. There's no way. My brother did it, and after talking with my mom about it, when he was on it, she was like, you do not ever go on Accutane. So I kind of trust her with that. And from what I've read, I really don't want to do Accutane. I think it's a hormonal thing that Accutane is not going to fix, so it's not worth putting my body through that. So I'm kind of like waiting it out to see what happens. It is getting a little bit better. Slowly but surely it is getting better, and my skin is feeling better. It's just taking a lot of work to get it there, which I'm totally fine with. I need to figure that out anyways. And I've been through this before in quarantine where I didn't have to wear a lot of makeup because I wasn't on camera all the time and we weren't really like doing this. And I think working from home is so different from that now. I've kind of got to figure it out again and what works for my skin. And definitely being off the hormones, I've got to figure that all out again. So we're getting there. We're finding products that work, but it's taking some time. And it does take a lot of trial and error to get it to that point. So it's a process. We're getting there, but just be aware of that. If you have the surgery and you're struggling with skin issues like me, it's not going to be a quick fix overnight. It's going to take a lot of work. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I feel like I was able, right after surgery, like maybe a week after surgery, I felt 100% better. I would have been able to go to the gym and do whatever. I obviously didn't because they told me to wait a few weeks. So I wasn't able to lift anything over 10 pounds the first 2 weeks. And I was still kind of afraid to do that. Like the first couple weeks after that, I feel fine. Nothing feels different. It was a very simple procedure. Recovery was super easy. I think I got super lucky though, because I've heard some people where they had a really hard time in recovery. You hear a lot about gas and shoulder pain because they're putting the gas in you during the operation to be able to go do whatever they need to do, and people with different pains in different parts of their body from that. I didn't have any of that. I went home with the extra strength Advil, took it for a couple days and then was fine. So, and I really don't have a high pain tolerance. So I didn't really notice it. It was very uncomfortable, and I don't know what I would compare it to. I would compare it to not cramping, but kind of like cramping. It just was very tight, and in like that general area where I normally get cramps. And I did feel bloated for the first couple days. Bloated, that's a better word, bloated. But that was pretty much it. Like it was very easy to deal with. So if you're going in for this procedure, do not worry about it. Like the risks are so minimal. And in the very rare cases, there's complications. I know I've seen on the subreddits about it that people have had complications, but that wasn't my experience. That's not most people's experience. I don't think it's something you need to worry about as long as you've got a good doctor and a good team taking care of you. And the lists on Reddit, on the child-free subreddit and the Bi-Salp subreddit and all these different resources that I've got linked below, those doctors, you can go and read the reviews. And one thing I will say is if you go in and you don't get a good feeling from that doctor, like they're not going to take good care of you or they're not understanding you or whatever, do not have them do your surgery. I felt 100% comfortable with my doctor, and that's why I went through with it. I literally wish she could be my regular doctor because I loved her so much. So just do your research and you'll be good. So that's basically it for this round of surgery updates. I'm sure if you're here for only that, then I will link the rest of the videos so you can go back and watch the whole story. But be sure to stick around because I'm gonna be doing like updates built into my other vlogs and things like that now that I'm focusing more on weight loss and how that goes. because things haven't really been happening as fast, I am getting my doctor more involved because I want to see what else is going on and what else could be affecting it. So I may do more updates on that, but that's going to be it for the surgery stuff and how that all went. So thanks for joining. Let me know in the comments if you have any other like specific questions on things that happen. I'm happy to do another video on like a Q&A if there's enough interest in it. So yeah, thanks for joining, and we will see you next time.